Minasan, namaste. Nihongo no ipiji no patshala yokoso. Watashi wa Kanna Nita desu. And today we are going to study about the first work of Japanese literature, which is Kojiki. As you can see from the kanji, we can translate it as the records of ancient matters. What is Kojiki? And when was it compiled or written? It was compiled in 712 AD. You must be wondering why so old. We'll come to know about it. That was the first aim of our study today. We will also study about what was the aim of compiling this work. Also, what prompted the compilers to take up this action. So with these objectives, let's go straight to the main subject and understand the whole background of this important compilation, which comes down to us as the classical work, the oldest classical work of Japanese literature. Kojiki was completed in 712, as I mentioned just now, and it was compiled on the orders of Emperor Temmu, who ruled Japan between 673 to 686. It seems Emperor Temmu was a visionary, and he was not satisfied with the state of confusion that prevailed in the arrangement of the family genealogies of the imperial family at that. So he ordered for the compilation, and his words are quoted in the preface of the work as I read. Emperor Temmu mentioned like this: I hear that the work Teiki and also Honji have handed down by the various houses have come to differ from the truth, and that many falsehoods and anomalies have been added to it. If these are not corrected, their meaning will be lost. This is the framework of the state, the great foundation of the imperial influence. Therefore, recording the Teiki and examining the Kuji and discarding the falsehood and establishing the truth, I desire to hand them on to the generations. In other words, what he meant was that there are the anomalies which have prevailed because Japan didn't have their own compilation about the imperial family and depended on the Chinese or Korean works, Kuji, Honji and Teiki. Teiki is translated as Imperial Chronicles, Honji as Fundamental Dicta, and Kuji as Ancient Dicta. Emperor Temmu believed that in order to have a strong foundation for the nation, those mistakes have to be corrected and also verified with the facts mentioned in the Teiki and Kuji, so that the correct information is ready and it could be passed on to the coming generations. Emperor Temmu, having passed the orders in 687, did not live to see this work because the work was ready only in 712, almost 25 years after the initial step was taken. After the death of Emperor Temu, it was the Empress Gemme who again ordered to resume its compilation in 711, and then it was presented to her officially as a complete work in 712. Emperor Temu designated Hyedanware, a lowly official who was from the family of imperial reciters, and Hyedanware remembered the facts of the imperial family by heart in a chronological way and had learned it from his father. He was assigned the task of reciting it. It seems Hyedanware remembered and he could recite, but he didn't know how to write. And another official, Onoyasumaru, was assigned the task of codifying whatever Hyedanware recited and arrange it in a proper form. Onoyasumaru was a court official of junior rank who compiled it after arranging the material in 3 volumes. And he also wrote a preface in classical Chinese and presented the complete work to the throne in 712. Although the preface is written in pure Chinese, but the work Kojiki is written in Hentai Kanbun, which means the Chinese characters used to transcribe Japanese phonetically, as well as in the preface of Kojiki, it's him, Onoyasumaru, who points out the difficulties he faced in the process of shaping up this work in detail. Therefore, the main essence of Kojiki is there in its preface, and one can understand through it how difficult it was to use Chinese phonetically or in the form of Hentai Kanbun. He has given a few extra notes to explain this aspect as well as the overall scheme of the work. Let's have a look at the contents of the preface. So, Onoyasumaru introduced himself in first person as having served the Yamato court during the reigns of Emperor Temu between 673 to 686, Empress Jito 687 to 696, Emperor Momo 697 to 707, and Empress Gemme, who reigned during 708 to 714 and dedicated the work to Empress Gemme with his comments. And then he starts the accounts as follows. Incidentally, it seems that after Emperor Temu, the next Empress Jito and Emperor Momo took little interest in this compilation, and it was Emperor Gemme who in 711 again ordered for its completion, and Onoyasumaru served them all. So the accounts start like this. In the beginning, this word was in the state of a congealed mass, in which not a single thing, not even the heaven and earth, were demarcated. Nothing had any definite shape. No one knows how it was like. The only fact is that the couple Izanami and Izanagi began creation and were the ancestors of all creations or the main creators of the country. While giving birth to the fire god, Izanami, the lady, got burnt and went to Yomi, the land of dead. Izanagi was in grave shock and he followed her there to bring her back but failed to do so. He had to return alone, and after coming back to the earth, he washed his body to cleanse himself, and out of the dirt which came out from his eyes, what was born was sun and moon. While washing other parts of his body, also other deities were born. Onuyasumaru then refers to the polity. According to him, truly after hanging up of the mirror, the incident when sun goddess Amaterasu no Omikami hid and closed herself in a cave, and there was darkness everywhere. This legend. I continue with the next incident. He refers the spitting out of the jewels, which is referring to the incident of slaying of the eight-headed dragon. So he continues, 100 kings have followed in succession. The innumerable deities that flourished had purified the land. The borders were determined and the lands were developed during the reign of Emperor Seimu, and the titles were corrected. The clan names selected during the rule of Emperor Ingyo. He continues like this. Although each reign differed in the degree of swiftness or slowness, and each was not the same in refinement and simplicity, yet there was not even a single ruler who did not, by meditating upon antiquity, straighten the things which had collapsed, and who did not, by comparing the present with antiquity, strengthen morals and teachings verging on extinction. Next, referring to the reign of Emperor Temmu, Onoyasumaru praises him. He praised him as the sleeping dragon who embodied the royal qualities to be a great ruler, and accounts like this. Emperor Temmu, in the way he excelled the Yellow Emperor, a legendary Chinese ruler, in virtue, he surpassed the king of Zhou. He continues to say that Emperor Temmu set forth profound principles to be issued throughout the land to instill good practices and noble manners. Not only this, his wisdom was vast as the sea. Searching out antiquity, his mind was bright as a mirror, clearly beholding the former ages. Next, regarding the compilation of the work, Onoyasumaru elaborates as follows. At that time, there was a court attendant whose surname was Heda and his given name was Are. He was 28 years old. He possessed such great intelligence and skills that he could repeat orally whatever he read, and whatever struck his ears was indelibly impressed on his heart. Then an imperial command was given to Are to learn the imperial sun lineage. Teiki, in Japanese it was called, or Senki, and ancient dicta of former ages, which is Sendai Kuji in Japanese. However, the time went on and the reign changed before this project was accomplished. And then Onuyasumaru in the preface points out the reason for the involvement of Empress Gemme in the work. After gap, according to him, hereupon appalled at the mistakes in the Kuji, she is determined to correct the corruptions in the Teiki. On the 18th day of the 9th month of the 4th year of Wado, which is 711, an imperial command was given to me, Yasumaru, to record and present the Kuji learned by Heidano, Are, and so he gave it a final shape. He continues, reverently in accordance with the imperial will, I chose and took them up in great detail. However, during the times of antiquity, both words and meanings were unsophisticated, and it was difficult to reduce the sentences and phrases while writing. If expressed completely in ideograph, that is Kambun, the words will not correspond exactly with the meaning, and if written entirely phonetically, the account will be much longer. For this reason, at times using Kambun and at times using Kambun phonetically, the writing have been used in combination in the same phrase, and at times the whole matter has been recorded by using Kambun or Kanji. Thus, when the purport is difficult, he goes on to say, thus, when the purport is difficult together, a note has been added to make a clear remark, but when the meaning is easy to understand, no note is given. Again, in case of surnames and given names, the traditional way of writing has been followed without change. In general, the account begins with the beginning of heaven and earth and ends with the reign of Empress Suiko. Thus, everything from Ame no Minaka Nushi no Kami, the ancient most god, through Ukaya Fuki Aezu no Mikoto, the grandson of Ningi no Mikoto, is included in the first volume. Here he is referring to the first volume being based on the Age of Gods, the creation myths and mythology of Japan. He goes on to write, which he continues like this, everything from Emperor Jimmu, the son of Ukaya Fuki Aezu no Mikoto, through the rule of the 15th emperor of Ojin, is included in the second volume. Everything from the 16th emperor Nintoku through Empress Suiko is included in the third volume. These three volumes are recorded together and are reverently presented. Thus do I, Yasumaru, full of awe, full of fear, reverently bow my head again and again. The 28th day of the first month of the 5th year of Wado, which is 712 AD. Such is the preface of Kojiki that states the objective scope and difficulties in writing the work using Kambun. It also mentions writing Kambun and had to choose and difficulties in writing the work using only Kambun, and therefore he chose to write in Hentai Kambun. It also mentions the initiative taken by the Emperor Temmu in this direction that went a long way in creating interest in the historical writings in Japan and facilitated the writing of the first work of Japanese literature.